kind of after this weekend, we had a Sunday service, right? And we're talking about our resurrected King. We're talking about they roll back the tomb, right? They come in. Well, they don't have to roll back the tomb. They show up. They being Mary Magdalene and another Mary. I think it's two different Marys. And I think again, it's just an amazing testament to, first of all, Mary Magdalene's devotion to Christ is absolutely humbling, and it seems like that name is mentioned a lot in the Bible, a ton, and start to wonder if her devotion to Christ is mentioned so frequently that we should really just be studying her a little more often to find out what true devotion to Christ looks like. And then Christ's response to her because of that. And it's absolutely, it's humbling. And then you think about the idea of who she was, right? Prior to Jesus coming on the scene, and then he heals her from those afflictions and who she was. So, anyways, I was kind of reading this morning in Peter 2:21, for you have been called for this purpose, since Christ has suffered for you, leaving you an example for you to follow in his steps. And then we go down to 25. For you were continually straying like sheep, but now you have returned to the shepherd and the guardian of your soul. And I was just like, wow, the guardian of my soul. Without Christ, we have nothing to guard our souls from where we're headed. Mary Magdalene, I believe she was a prostitute, and she had, I think Nicodemus had tried to heal her of, the demonic influence in her life, and she was, basically he couldn't, and I think he ultimately gives up on it, and who shows up with Jesus Christ? This is early on in his, ministry. He comes along and he heals her, and and she recognizes, I think, why she decides to follow him with such a zeal is she recognizes where she's been. She knows what was running her life prior to Christ coming in and casting out the demonic influence in her life. I believe it calls her a prostitute, right? So she would have been even in today's standards, right? We have, unfortunately, our moral compasses have been, watered down to the point where people almost don't even bat an eye at prostitution or, sexual sin in general. We are living in pretty deplorable times when it comes to sexual sin and how it's being promoted. But, it's still not taken lightly. But, some 2,000 years ago, I can assure you that sin was taken, but not even sin, that lifestyle among, the people in her community would have been frowned upon heavily, right? She would have been thought of as this disgusting creature and, cast out to the wolves, essentially. And she would have been I think she would have been treated pretty poorly. I know she was treated poorly. And so, I think when we come up out of that, that place where we know who we were and what we were doing and what we were living with, and then we come and we see Jesus come into our lives, and he shows us the miracle of salvation, but the forgiveness of sin and when we've spent so much time wrapped up in shame and guilt, right, for what we've done, that we can't even see the forest through the trees anymore. And we're out there in that wilderness, and we're just searching around, looking, just, we can't find our way out. They say, like, if you walk 5 miles into the woods, you're going to have to walk 5 miles out of the woods. And so I think a lot of times we just give up once we get into the woods because we can't bring ourselves to figure out how to get back out. We're lost. You don't even see, what's going on. And then all of a sudden, in an amazing way, Christ shows up. And he plucks us up out of the muck and the mire. He yanked me up out of the muck and the mire. I played with the devil and I danced by his fire. Right? And he shows up and he pulls me away from the devil's fire. He pulls me away from dancing with the devil. He pulled me away. And like Mary Magdalene, I'm like, I know where I've come from. And I want to tell you, it's so profound that I can't help. I have to go and bring forth in the joy, the peace, everything that he's brought to me. I want you guys to know. I want anyone listening, anyone that's willing to listen, like Mary Magdalene. And so I was just thinking about today, like, who are we going to be called to? What are we going to do with the forgiveness that we've been given? What are we going to do with the grace that we've been given? What are we going to do when we realize the guardian of our soul has shown up? He has shown up and he has given us freedom from the very condemnation of the world, of our own shame, our own guilt, those very things that we deal with, that we cry ourselves to sleep at night doing, or that we cover up with, alcohol or drugs or pornography, or we cover up by taking pills for our depression, or we're taking, just the loneliness. The answer and the cure for each and every one of those is in the guardian of our soul. Once we realize we have Jesus Christ, the great I am, the creator of the world. He created everything, and yet he's the guardian of my soul. Like Mary, I feel like we have to just fall to our knees at Christ. Like the song, I can only imagine. I can only imagine. Will I fall to my knees? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. And so today I was struck with how the zeal in which Mary worships Jesus Christ, the very ground he walks on, she literally falls to her knees and anoints his feet and uses her hair to wipe his feet. And that's just one example. There's many examples of Mary's worship for Jesus Christ. My question for you today is simply, who is the guardian of your soul? And if you feel unguarded, if you feel unprotected, if you feel like you're just walking around aimlessly in the woods and you can't find your way out, or you just come like, I'm too deep in the woods, I am not turning around trying to walk 5 miles back out of these woods, or I'm walking in the snow, deep snow, and I just give up, my feet are cold, my feet are frozen, I'm done, I'm going to lay in the snow, and just, what happens is what happens. And you almost kind of succumb to the life that you're in because it's too hard to get yourself up out of it. Listen, he yanked me up, he plucked me out of the muck and the mire. He is the guardian of my soul. And so today, I want to humbly worship Jesus Christ as the guardian of my soul because I know who he is and what he did on the cross. And I want to encourage you today to get yourself up out of the muck and the mire. And you can only do that to the guardian of your soul. So if you don't know who Jesus Christ is and you're listening to this video, I'm impressed that you've stuck through listening to this video as I kind of ramble on here. And I appreciate it. And go ahead and hit subscribe. But more importantly than all of that is you just got to know who he is and what he did on the cross. And he did that for you. And he wants to be the guardian of your soul. And if you've come to a place where you know who Jesus Christ is and you've given your life over to him, yet you're not living a life like that every single day. And you're not praying to be the man or woman God's called you to be. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it perfectly. My prayer every day is I want to be your man. I want to be the kind of man God sees in his dreams. That's what I want to be today. That's my prayer. And I fall short, and I'm human, and I have all these little hang-ups that kind of like little thorns, and I'm walking through them, and like, oh, you get caught, and it's like, oh yeah, gotta go back and pull that raspberry thorn out, move it, and now come back in. You know, and yes, as I walk through the raspberry bushes, I get caught up with my thorns. But at the end of the day, I know that he is guarding my soul. I can come back to him and ask for forgiveness for everything I've done. I want to encourage you guys to understand why Mary worshiped Jesus Christ at every turn, in every gospel, who is there over and over and over again, worshiping Jesus Christ. Who doesn't ever, you never hear Jesus turn to Mary and be like, get behind me, Satan, like he said to Peter. You never hear Jesus say to Mary, you're going, you will deny me 3 times. No, again, that was Peter. I'm more like Peter. All right, I get it. I'm more like Peter, and Jesus keeps saying, Dana, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I'm like, no, I'm not going to. Yeah, I do, but guess what? Just like when Jesus comes and he's been resurrected, go get my disciples, and Peter too. I love that verse, and I said it on Good Friday, because here's the deal. Because he is calling me back to him, even when I denied him, or even when I, fell victim to the streets, or fell victim to my sin, Listen, but Mary should be the example of what it looks like to humbly worship the guardian of our souls. I want to encourage you guys today that you have a guardian in Jesus Christ. He looks to guard your soul. He is the very same creator. It was always we, or, us. It was us in Genesis. Read it. It was always us. Us. That is God. That is Jesus Christ. That is the Holy Spirit. They have always been there. They created the world. And yet, Jesus Christ is the guardian of your soul. He is the guardian of my soul. He isn't the guardian of the world's soul. It's not some corporate deal. Well, I think he takes care of his church in a corporate way. He looks to be the guardian of your soul, individually, to come into you, to give you the peace, the resurrection, the testimony, just like Mary's testimony. I hope I can encourage you today. Our God loves you, and he is the guardian of your soul. Y'all have a good day.